Hi everyone, I hope you've had a great weekend. Just wanted to give you a little interview to introduce this week's work. We're going to be finishing up the chapter. You're going to actually have a test on this on Thursday. I just didn't want to hang over spring break. I want you guys to be free to rest and relax over spring break. So Monday we're going to finish up the chapter. We're going to talk about emerging nation states and the 100 Years' War. And so we'll look at that a little bit more. You'll also have some worksheets to do on the Black Plague. So be looking for that as well. So I'm going to give those to you on Monday and they'll be due on Wednesday, just so that you have plenty of time to get those done. But Monday you will have another PowerPoint and some fill-in notes to do on the emergence of nation states and the 100 Years' War. So just a couple things about that, just to kind of give an overview of that. So at this time, people are starting to realize that, they're starting to recognize that they're living together with other people who share similar traditions and similar language. And then we're going to have these local kings, independent kings, who are going to start ruling over these groups of people who share common traditions and common language. And so what we're going to see is the beginning of nations being formed. Up until this point, you've got all these little feudal kingdoms. Now we're going to have nations, like the nations that we know of today, like France and England and Germany and things like that. But before that, they really didn't consider themselves nations. So we're going to see those start to emerge, and that's going to really lead to a movement away from feudalism. Feudalism is going to really die out, and really we're going to start entering the modern age here, where you have a nation with a king that rules over that nation. And part of these nations becoming more solidified is a result of the 100 Years' War. So the 100 Years' War is a war that's fought between France and England. Remember back when we talked about some of the English kings and the French kings, and how the English kings actually owned more land in France than the French kings did? Well, this is going to come to kind of a climax. Their conflict over that is going to come to a climax, and it's going to erupt in the 100 Years' War. So essentially it really runs from 1337 until 1453. So if you did the math there, 1337 to 1453, you're like, Miss Smith, that's a little more than 100 years. You're right, it is, but we still call it the 100 Years' War, all right? It's a little easier to say the 100 Years' War versus the 113 Years' War. So there we go. Or actually, probably not 113, 116 Years' War. Anyway, somebody did the math, correct me there. It's over 100 years. All right, so essentially, at the beginning of the war, you still have England and France are still pretty feudal, where you've got England still has control of some land in France, particularly Aquitaine, and the French kings are going to want control of that, and the English king is going to basically claim the throne of France because the Capetian king died, and the English king's wife was the sister of the Capetian king. All right, all sorts of crazy relationships going on there. But essentially, the English king is going to say, hey, I should be the rightful throne of the French kingdom. And of course the French are like, no, you may not be king. We're going to put this other guy on the throne. And that leads to on and off fighting for over 100 years, which we know as the 100 Years' War. We are going to look at some of the consequences of that and what came out of that. And Joan of Arc, you've heard of her before, so she is a key figure in the 100 Years' War as well. So we're actually, in the book, you're going to see that this chapter continues on after the discussion of the 100 Years' War. And also we're going to talk a little bit about Spain and Italy and Germany at this point as well. The last part of the chapter talks about the Roman Catholic Church and what's going on with that. We're going to save that for the next chapter because it kind of leads into the Reformation, which we're going to talk about soon. So I'm going to hold off on that part until we get into the Reformation. I'll tell you in your directions in your homework as far as which pages to stop at to read and how far you need to study for your test. So we'll have that this week. I will put a study guide up hopefully by Monday night, for you to focus your studying on for the test. So that I'll have that up by Monday night. Tuesday will just be probably timeline day, all right? And then Wednesday will be a finish up a little bit of notes and review day for your test on Thursday. Okay, I hope you guys have a great week, and I miss you guys, and I hope you're doing well.